President Trump's campaign received a big bill last week. The Albuquerque Journal reports that the city sent an invoice for more than $200,000 following his rally in the area last month. That includes charges for things like police overtime and barricades. But Albuquerque is far from the only city where the president has an outstanding bill. The Trump campaign owes nearly $570,000 to El Paso, Texas, for services related to his February rally, plus late fees, and more than $80,000 in Tucson, Arizona. That tab has been lingering unpaid since March 2016. The city of Spokane, Washington, has also been trying to collect about $65,000 since early 2016. Mesa, Arizona, has been waiting for nearly the same amount since late last year. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, says Trump owes them over $47,000. He owes $43,000 to Billings, Montana, $35,000 to Erie, Pennsylvania, $16,000 to Lebanon, Ohio, more than $9,000 to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and about $8,000 to Burlington, Vermont. And then there's over $500,000 that the president owes Minneapolis, Minnesota for his rally earlier this month. And we cannot forget Washington, D.C., not a city, but stiffed by the president nonetheless. Trump owes the district a whopping $9 million in unpaid fees for the inauguration and this summer's July 4th salute to America. Joining me now for more on all the president's debt is Dave Leventhal, editor-at-large at the Center for Public Integrity, which published an exhaustive study earlier this year on the Trump campaign's refusal to pay their public safety bill. Dave, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, great to be with you tonight.
Dave, what can one do about this? I mean, I think every city that hears that Donald Trump's coming has got to be aware of this, because policing and public safety and security have long been issues that cities have difficulty paying for.
Right. And when the president comes to town, these are huge rallies, typically 10, 15, 20,000 people.
And they can't not do it.
Well, I've asked that question to them, and they said it's unthinkable that we would not provide police protection for any event, whether it's a president, a concert, a sports event, and not provide police protection, not only for the people who are in the event itself, but for our community writ large. So none of them are considering that. But by the same token, too, I talked to the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, for example, and he made it very clear that he wanted to be more aggressive with the president. I talked to the mayor of El Paso, Texas, Dee Margo, who is a Republican, and he said, hey, look, this is an issue about our municipalities being able to pay their bills. And if the president's coming to town in a campaign event, raising money himself, the least that he can do, his campaign can do, is, in their words, do the honorable thing and help offset the oftentimes extraordinary amount of police protection that has to be allocated to an event such as a Trump rally.
But the campaign is record-breaking in the amount of money it's able to raise.
They're doing great.
It does well. It's got money. What's their argument?
They really don't have an argument except to say that this is not something that they control, that the U.S. Secret Service, and they are correct in this, is the one that will say, OK, Minneapolis, El Paso, Lebanon, Ohio, Chicago, New York, whatever it is, you're responsible for working with the Secret Service municipality and putting together a security plan. Well, that's all fine and good, but the problem here is really, in a way, Congress. Congress has not allocated money to the U.S. Secret Service to reimburse any of these cities that we've just talked about. So effectively, if the Trump campaign isn't willing to volunteer cash and pay bills that it receives from the municipalities,
they're not obliged to?
They are not obliged to.
So the Secret Service is obliged to provide or coordinate the necessary security when the president is somewhere.
Correct.
The fact that it's a campaign event, the Secret Service doesn't have the privilege of walking back on that and saying, well, that's not our jam.
Right. And in the municipalities, they're going to provide that police protection anyway. So if the Trump campaign isn't willing to pay the bills that the municipality sends it, they're kind of left holding the bag.
When things like this happen, to what degree is a municipality able to sort of carve out the part that was paid for because there's this big event versus things that they would normally have to do?
So oftentimes it depends on where the event is. If it's a city-owned facility, and we've seen this with certain cities, Nashville would be a good example, where Donald Trump will come to a city-owned facility. The city says, OK, well, we own the facility. you're going to have to sign this contract and you're going to have to pay your bills up front. If it's not a city-owned facility or a city-owned facility managed by, say, a third party, as is often the case, they have a lot less leverage. And that's where it gets sticky. And the municipalities are kind of in this catch-22 where they got to provide security, but they may not get paid for the hundreds of thousands of dollars in overtime and police costs for a president who says, hey, I love law enforcement, but yet apparently doesn't like them and love them enough to actually have his campaign pay out.
What's the consequence of this? These cities just go into hock. They don't have the money. I mean, I would imagine a lot of these cities, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 is a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it may not be a big deal for a city of 1 million people as much as it would be a big deal for Green Bay, Wisconsin, or for Lebanon, Ohio, a city that may only have 20, 30, 50, 80,000 people. I mean, that could pay a lot of police officers' salaries for days at a time when you add that up. So it's a big hole in their budget. Sure, there's a lot that goes good with a presidential event. You get the limelight on your municipality, your local government, your local people. But by the same token, too, it is a situation where the city budget, it's a city budget. You got to pay it. And if you don't have money coming in and have a lot coming out, then you could be in a pickle.
So like many things in this administration, some of it shouldn't come as a surprise. There has been, long before Donald Trump became elected president, this story has followed him along for years. The except services do not pay.
Without question, and he hasn't changed. Now, what we've asked all the Democratic candidates, too, well, what are you going to do if you're in a similar situation? And Bernie Sanders and some of the other candidates have definitely had big rallies. It's a mixed bag, but you definitely have some candidates on that side, whether it's Beto O'Rourke, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, who've effectively said, hey, we are going to pay bills. We will honor them. If the police department or the city hall of any given city that we have a big rally in sends us a bill, we're going to pay it. And we've got documentation that shows that many have, although Joe Biden hasn't gotten back to us on exactly whether he is going to pay bills of those sort for his part.
Dave, always good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.